The title of this presentation is Signatures in the Human World and in Machines. My name is David Van Pola, and I teach at the State University of New York, College at Oswego. This very short talk is a somewhat abstract overview of a much larger project. Here I will only outline some affinities that provide the motivation for a more encompassing endeavor. My general thesis is that signatures can provide a motivation and possibly a conceptual structure for unifying aspects of the humanities and computation, particularly with the construction and development of knowledge ontologies and knowledge description languages. Starting with the viewpoint of the humanities, Giorgio Agamben has recently made the idea of signatures a central part of his theoretical framework. Agamben proceeds with his definition and appropriation with an historical perspective. Quoting the Renaissance thinker Paracelsus, Agamben notes, "All things, herbs, seeds, stones, and roots, reveal in their qualities, forms, and figures, Gestalt, that which is in them, if they all become known through their signatum." It is important to note that the term Gestalt is used here. This is salient with respect to structures in computer science, as we shall see. Agamben then goes on to note, Signatura is the science by which everything that is hidden is found, and without this art, nothing of any profundity can be done. In the intellectual realm of Paracelsus and his fellow intellectual travelers, a signature is often best understood in the realm of medicine. For example, a walnut may resemble the human corpus callosum. By treating a human with remedies made by walnuts, disorders of the brain may be healed. Here the walnut acts as a signifier for something signified, that is, the brain. The signifier in this case physically resembles the brain in terms of certain physical features and their relationship to each other. As absurd as this may sound to the ears of a 21st century person who has knowledge of medicine, I will point out some important insights that can be made here. First, the investigation of signatures and their reference is a primary way to try to understand what is hidden in some sort of systematic manner. Second, the relationship between domains can be established by identifying correspondences between one set of features and their arrangements with another set, as we saw with the case of walnuts and brains. Third, there is some efficacious relationship with the signifier walnut and the signified brain. This point, as well as the shifting role of signifier and signified, requires a discussion beyond the time range of this short talk, so only the first 2 points will be examined. As anyone who is familiar with Michel Foucault's The Order of Things knows, he discusses the central role of signatures in the history of Western thought. Agamben notes that although Foucault does not explicitly define signatures, the operation of signatures is important for our understanding of the world. He writes with respect to Foucault, "A world that is supported by the thick weave of resemblances and sympathies, analogies and correspondences, stands in need of signatures, marks that teach us how to recognize them." Quoting Foucault, Agamben notes, "There are no resemblances without signatures. The world of similarity can only be a world of signs." Given the lack of a formal definition of signature in Foucault, Agamben notes that an interpreter of Foucault, Enzo Melandri, provides one. Melandri writes, "A signature is a sort of sign within the sign. It is the index that in the context of a given semiology univocally makes reference to a given interpretation. A signature adheres to the sign in the sense that it indicates, by means of the sign's making, the code that has to be deciphered." Hence, an important element of signatures to be added to the second point that I previously made is that the relationship between the structural and feature aspects of entities is established through resemblance characteristics found in signatures, as well as the process of identifying the features of signatures themselves. These considerations, among others, leads Agamben to conclude, all research in the human sciences, particularly in an historical context, necessarily has to do with signatures. And in support of this view, he refers to Guy Deleuze. Guy Deleuze once wrote that a philosophical inquiry entails at least 2 elements: the identification of the problem and the choice of concepts that are adequate for approaching it. It is necessary to add that concepts entail signatures, without which they remain inert and unproductive. Now, what does all this have to do with emerging technologies, particularly in computer and information science? First, consider the formula made famous by Nicholas Wirth. That is, programs equals algorithms plus data structures. Many researchers in the emerging area of digital humanities are concerned with procedures or algorithms. Although the processes involved in rendering of written text into digital form is something that has captured the attention of digital humanities scholars, relatively less attention has been paid to the formulation of data structures themselves. In computer science, a knowledge ontology can serve as a way information is categorized and classified within an information structure. Knowledge description languages can, as the name implies, describe the general features of a knowledge ontology. Now, within the domain of knowledge ontology, the term signature is often used. In a description logic, a signature consists of the following elements. First, a concept or class designation. For an example, look at persons, animals, teachers, students. Second, a role or property. Example could be tames or teaches. Third, individual names. Let's say Harriet and Henry. Like the notion of signatures found in the history of ideas, these information theoretic signatures can identify properties and relationships. For example, teaches, teacher Harriet, student Henry. This statement relates the activity of teaching to a property teacher that has within its set the name Harriet, to another property student that has within its set the name Henry. So the activity of determining the concepts, roles, and individuals found in computational signatures can help make what is inchoate in the world into an explicit arrangement of functions, properties, and elements. The signature is a sign that embodies the concept, roles, and individual elements found in the signified. Like the historical concept of signatures, this process of building knowledge ontologies can make what is hidden more explicit. Hence, there is a convergence between the use of signatures in the humanities and computer sciences in the following ways. First, both emphasize the identification of relevant features and their relationships in order to understand an entity or an object of investigation. A kind of conceptual analysis then lies at the heart of both the humanities and computer science. Second, in terms of intellectual motivation, a consideration of the use of signatures finds both humanities scholars and computer scientists trying to articulate what is initially inchoate into something understandable through the use of structural features and their relationships. Caroline Levine, in her book, Forms, Whole, Rhythm, Hierarchy, Network, has identified important structures for the humanities. Perhaps signature, as a form that resonates with both the human and information sciences, can be added to this list. If you have any questions, you can contact me at this email address, and thank you for listening.